So Nikki not endorse it. This is the question right now. And I know we do this every 4 years, and it always seems to work out, I think. But we've been picking on Colorado. I don't know why. But Colorado, 63-33 for Trump. But, Drudge Report will spin that as 275,000 people voted against Donald Trump. So what is Donald Trump to do to get the 275,000 people?
I actually find that interesting because maybe this was a mild service Nikki Haley and her Democrat donors provided all of us, is maybe a blueprint of some of the places where Trump is weak, where people just really don't want to vote for him. And I do think that this is a legit vulnerability. If you talk to some of my peers in the Breitbart newsroom, some of them would have you believe that Trump's just going to win in a walk. It's going to be a total landslide. It's going to be a rout. That's what we're going to get. And I am not that confident. I think that it could happen. And I think there's a lot of data that will make those people, perhaps look very good in November. But I just always assume that Trump's negatives are incredibly high. Not with me. I like him, but not with many of you, but with other people. He rubs them the wrong way, and they'll never get past that. And the fact that the Democrat machine, with their ballot harvesting and their big tech manipulation, et cetera, they're all just going to be so fired up to try to stop him that they're going to get Joe Biden 82 million votes this time. So we cannot proceed with the rest of, the next 9 months of the year. We cannot proceed, or 8 months, with any expectation other than that somehow it's going to be much more difficult than it looks. And if we get to November and Trump does not win, or even not win by a lot, these are going to be things that are that indicate why. Because you saw some pockets where when he's basically running unopposed, he still didn't necessarily win, or he didn't win by a lot. Now, it doesn't bother me that much yet. There's a lot of daylight now between today and Election Day, but it gives you a little bit of a sensation that this could be where there are chinks in the armor.
A quick sidebar. Are you to tell us that there is not unanimity in the Breitbart.com newsroom and workforce?
Well, yeah, there's not unanimity in the sense that people are, yes, entitled to their own opinion. And you might not be able to glean that from the front page, believe it or not.
This is MSNBC. So this is, where are they here? I don't know where they are. Virginia. This is a Republican woman that they found on the street. Oh, my goodness. An ad. She said, why don't I just tell you what she said? She said, I can't vote for Trump. He's a lunatic. He's an absolute lunatic. So she voted for Nikki Haley. Here's what she said. He lies. He cheats. He bankrupted millions of businesses and people. I don't see anything good about him. And the guy said, if Donald Trump's the nominee in November, do you support Joe Biden over Donald Trump? And she said, no. What do you do? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are tuned out on the political process. They're just not into either the two major political parties. They're not into the two candidates. They didn't like Trump as a person. They don't like what Biden's doing as a president, and they might just hang out at home. I think that's a real possibility. They might change their mind in the next 9 months when Trump hopefully does the sort of things he's been doing lately, which is trying to be more of a unifier. As people see more how the weaponization, how the lawfare against Trump is so unfair and anti-democratic, hopefully people see all that stuff. I am optimistic that they will, but we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure that's going to happen. There is certainly people who will opt out. I know that there is one Fox personality. I'm not trying to give her more publicity. I just heard her explain why she doesn't vote for either major political party, and that makes her not part of the problem. I think that absolutely makes her part of the problem. But, people have this weird logic. So how many of those people are out there? Is it 2%, 3%? What if it's 10%? And if that's the case, who does that favor? That's another interesting thing. Does that favor Trump more or Biden more? And I always feel like that would favor Biden more, because even though people think Biden's old, not a good president in general, Democrats seem to rally behind their guy, which I think, Mike, was actually, upon reflecting on it, the biggest takeaway from yesterday has nothing to do with Trump or Haley. I think the biggest takeaway was that yet again, we got more data that Joe Biden is the Democrats' person. He's their guy. He always has been. Everything else was a fantasy. Anyone who told you it wasn't going to be Joe Biden was either lying to you or just creating content or was totally misguided. And, we've been telling people the Breitbart newsroom for a long time. It's been Joe. It's always been Joe. And yesterday was more evidence. And hopefully some of you are considering that who've heard me say that on the show over and over and over again. I really appreciate it.
I got in a bit of trouble the other day. Making some well, first we started talking about women. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know women.
All right. So, hence our hence yesterday our shirts being taken off. I mean, listen, the women, we know the women, right? So I got in some trouble with some women. Some women called in and, did the women thing and all that. But anyway, I made some comments about people voting and how people listening right now, like if you're listening to Sirius XM Patriot 125 at 8:13 in the morning, you're a little weird, or at least like weird in the sense that you're in a very small minority. Like I don't know what that minority is, but
yeah, it's a narrow definition. Yeah, it's a narrow definition of weird. But I see what you're saying.
I would, but weird is probably not the best word, but like, I don't know what the number one station is on Sirius XM, but like, there's a lot of choices and like you're choosing to be here and like, that's amazing, but don't go thinking that everyone else is like you. That's not it. So when you think of the voter outside of the Breitbart.com goer, consumer, who's this person in your mind? Who are they? What are they doing? And how are they making decisions? That's the more important question. How are they making decisions?
I think that these are the people who are, not all of them. I think a lot of the people who, and I follow some of these people on the internet who are obsessed with sports and they're obsessed with pop culture and they don't know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. And a lot of you in this audience don't have anyone in your life who's like this. If you're the type of person who's listening to a show like this at a time like this, as Mike notes, you might not know any people like this, but I was stunned when I had a very diverse upbringing, and in the sense that my parents always put me in the best schools, but I, for example, worked at a batting cage in a warehouse in a part of town with Spanish billboards around it. So I got a lot of character built from my normal life.
I have so many questions about that.
We could do hours. We could do hours. Yeah, and it was terrific. But it was a lot of my best friends at the batting cage thought George Bush was a Democrat. And that was very revealing to me when I was 18 years old, that they were grown people who could run businesses, who could be good workers, who could be good people and not know the president's political party. So those people do exist. And do you think those people are necessarily excited to see a rerun in the last election? They're probably not. So that means they might not tune in. And if they don't tune in, then given the strength of the Democrat machine, that typically favors Democrats. So because they're more likely just to get to people at the last minute, and it just feels like Republicans, we have to break through the wall of the media and big tech, et cetera, to earn people's vote. So I'm just saying this not to be pessimistic. I'm saying this to be realistic about what's ahead of us and why every vote counts and why we need to wake these people up. We need to shake them by their lapels. They got to get engaged, or else we very well could see more of this Joe Biden catastrophe that we're witnessing.
Yeah, complacent Carl gets us nowhere in the next 8 months here. I saw a poll yesterday, and I brushed it off at first because it didn't make sense in my brain. But the more I think about it, I think it's something. It speaks to this. It was something, I forget the numbers even, but it was, Trump's up by 5. That's the big New York Times poll right now, the nationwide poll. Trump's up by 5. Okay. But then the question was, well, hypothetically, if Trump gets convicted of a crime, then who do you vote for? And to me, it's like this doesn't change anything. Like what are you talking about? Like, who cares? But Biden's up by 10 all of a sudden. And you're like, whoa. Who's that person who can see like all the lawfare and everything here, but then once it gets that's a game changer for me. I don't understand that, but that's most people, I think.
Yeah, I don't necessarily understand either. I mean, do you have theory beyond that?
No. It's like I don't think people are think about things that much. I think most people there's like to your point, like Democrat good,
Republican bad. Yeah,
nice.
No. This is this is a real phenomenon in this country, and that's why we can't. And it only really comes up on shows like this in general election years when the nominees are set. That's the only time it really matters, is because day to day. And I even in the midterms, you're only getting people who really care about the political process, the civic process, voting for the most part. But then there are people who there's a big difference made by people who are mostly non-engaged and don't care that much during the vast majority of the 4-year election cycle that are starting to get much more relevant. And I'm worried more about those people than the people who are paying attention. The people who are paying attention, you're seeing the polls that Trump is making headway with suburban women, with blacks, with Latinos. He's making headway on the issues. He's crushing Biden on the issues. People are fed. Their top 2 issues right now are the border and the economy. Perfect for Trump. Everything is lining up perfectly, aside from, of course, the Democrats' ability to cheat. And not just ballot stuffing, legal cheating. They're good at it. They're going to do it this time, and they're going to do it on behalf of Joe Biden, who's always been their guy.
Okay, I mean, I got to ask you more on that. What do you mean cheating? What does cheating mean?
Cheat by mail, ballot harvesting, getting people to vote 30 days in advance, making sure that, they're making all these rules so more people can handle your ballot, making sure they're fighting voter ID laws as hard as they can to make sure that we have no idea who's showing up at the polls. The fact that tech is going to make it so they'll send voter alerts to people who are Democrats, which was demonstrated by Dr. Robert Epstein last time around, and not send them to Republicans. All of these things are going to happen, and we need to be aware that is going to create a buffer for them. Now, will it be 10 points? It's not going to be 10 points, but it might be a couple. It might be a couple, and it only needs to be a few thousand votes in a few key areas to make a difference.